right, hi guys. For those of you who don't know Jessica yet, this is Jessica. Wave. She is one of my brilliant trainers. And so if you ever take a course with us, you're going to see a lot of her because she does a lot of our training and so she's in a lot of the videos. But today we are talking about puppy training. So we're going to dive right in as soon as I just double check one thing. But we want to know about your puppies. So if you're watching, throw in the comments how old your puppy is, when you started training, you know, all of that good stuff. We have, what do we have? 6 dogs in our program total right now. And
7 if you include the private one.
Well, we've got lots of
Lola.
Oh yeah. So we've got 7 dogs in our program right now, and 4 of them are the youngest puppies, and they're all like 13 weeks now, 14 weeks. And then we have Drake with us today, so he's gonna help us with some demos, and he's like closer to 6 months now. But that is still a puppy. And everything that we're gonna talk about today applies regardless of the age of your puppy, even if you're starting out with a newer service dog. Even if it's maybe not a puppy, this stuff all still applies. So this is how we start all of our puppies or older dogs that are working with us as well if they're new to training. So the big question that we get first of all is always when, right? When are we supposed to start training our puppy? And yes, I have an outline because I want to make sure that I talk about the right things in the right order and don't go off on too many tangents. But if you guys have questions, throw them in the comments because we're going to answer questions today too. And if you have questions when you're watching the replay, throw them in the comments. We will still answer them. And also share this video because for anybody who shares the video and then types share into the comments, we are going to raffle off 2 puppy packets or packages with 2 of our favorite dog training books and some of our favorite treats and a clicker, and I have a fun toy too. So if you share this video anytime in the next 24 hours, so even if you're watching the replay and you share this video, then you will get to enter into the little raffle for our puppy packages, which have our, like I said, our favorite puppy books, including one that is my favorite one on socialization that I've ever read. I think that it's phenomenal, and I should have brought a copy, but I'm not at my house because we don't have very good internet. We're at Jess's house, and so I didn't bring my copy of the book to show you, but it's excellent. Everybody should have it, so I'm gonna give away 2 copies. So definitely share this anywhere that you think people will find it helpful, and then put shared in the comments, and we will enter you into the drawing. So we're gonna start off, right? The question is when should you start training your puppy? And I think we've gotten this question like a dozen times in the last 3 weeks, is how old should my puppy be when we start training? And there are lots of answers on this because you'll hear people say, oh, well, he needs to be a puppy, or you shouldn't start training your dog until he's 6 months old. When did we start training our puppies?
Day 1.
Yeah, the first day that they came to us. They were 7.5 weeks. And they started training that very first day. And we always start training our puppies right away. And so we do that for a bunch of reasons. And I'm gonna look at my notes to make sure that I remember all the reasons. But the reason that there's kind of like this myth, right, that you shouldn't train them until they're older. And I think that comes from primarily more punishment-based training methods where you can't put a prong collar, or where you shouldn't be putting a prong collar or a shock collar on a puppy. And you're always better at explaining that than me, like the developmental reasons and stuff.
Yeah. If you scare a puppy too soon or during one of the developmental stages, you could scar them for life. So by starting positive training from day 1 and reinforcing all of the good behaviors you like, your dog will start offering, or your puppy will start offering that behavior more often and giving you the good behaviors, and you don't have to worry about correcting reactivity or major fear reactions because you used a harsher type of training when they were going through a fear period.
Yeah, because I remember like when I first started training dogs, I worked for a trainer who was very, very heavy-handed, and that's how I first learned to train dogs. And she wouldn't, like, you weren't even allowed to bring a dog to any of her classes until it was 6 months old. And I have never, ever done that. So yes, puppies need to be puppies, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't start training right away, because puppies they're like these little sponges, and they're gonna absorb things and they're gonna learn whether you teach them anything or not. And so you might as well have them learning the things that you want them to learn instead of coming up with their own things to learn, because that's where we're definitely going to have problems. So that's why, share this video so that we can kind of help get people training right away, because if you don't start training your service dog puppy until he's 6 months old, you're going to have developed a lot of bad habits in that time, and it's going to be a lot harder to overcome that than if you had just started training from day one. So we, of course, give our puppies loads of time to be puppies. I mean, how many times today, just today, have they all had free time? They're playing together even. I mean,
every 2 hours, we go for a walk on the 10-acre property, and they get to run and play and wrestle and eat sticks and dig holes. I mean, they're still being puppies, and they get, I mean, it's a nice regular basis. If I'm not doing training and I'm not doing paperwork, I'm outside playing with the puppies, throwing balls, letting them just be dogs.
But we still do training right away, okay? And we always recommend, so for training puppies, start really short, like short little sessions, 2 or 3 minutes, multiple times throughout the day. And we just use their dog food, so we actually train our puppies for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then we also carry treats throughout the day to reinforce good behavior, which is something we're going to talk about in a little bit. I'm going to stick to my plan. So if you use positive reinforcement to train your puppy, then you're actually going to, so the other thing I hear a lot of people say is, oh, well, you need to work on your relationship before you can start training. But if you're using positive reinforcement, there's like no better way to build your relationship than through training. Because if you're training using positive reinforcement, then your puppy is learning to associate you with good things, and they're learning good habits from you, and they're having all these good experiences. And there's really like no better way to build a relationship with a puppy than to start some training right away. So we like to think about your relationship with your puppy as a bank account, right? So every time you have a negative experience, maybe you punish him, or maybe you just step on his foot, or you do something that he finds a little bit scary. I slammed one of my dogs in the door this morning, on accident, of course. So those are all withdrawals, right? Every time we do that, we take a deposit out, or a withdrawal out of our account. And when we have a good interaction, like we throw a ball, or we pet them, or we give them a treat, we put a deposit into the account. And we want our account to be really, really high. We want it to be really, really padded, because as an adult service dog, the only reason that your service dog will get off the couch at the end of the day when they're tired and stressed to do their alert or to do their task is because of their relationship with you. And so that's something we want to start right from the very beginning. And if every single time you give your puppy a treat, you get to put a deposit in, then there's no faster way to build your relationship than by training with treats or dog food. You can just use their dog food. And there's all kinds of psychology studies that prove that human relationships are really just built on layers of positive reinforcement. So, my husband cooks me breakfast and I'm appreciative of that. That's positive reinforcement. And so that's how we build relationships with each other, and that's how we build relationships with dogs. And so training is just like an excellent way to do that, is with our bank account. And since even if you're only planning on using positive reinforcement with your puppy, and there are lots of different training methods, and everybody's entitled to that, but even if you're somebody who is going into this thinking you're only going to use positive reinforcement 100% of the time, you're still going to step on your puppy's tail, or accidentally slam him in a door, or you'll have to cut his nails at some point, or take him to the vet. And those are all going to take little withdrawals out of your account. So the faster we can pad the account, the better. And I think that's great. And the other thing about the bank account is that it really builds value for you. And dogs, really, they just do whatever they find valuable. So like right now, Drake is getting treats for laying down. And so he's learning, because you can't see him, he's off camera, he'll get to come out in a minute. But he's learning that that's a valuable behavior, right? That's a hard behavior for him because he's kind of a busy little guy. But we get questions a lot about walking on a leash, or coming when called, or ignoring distractions. And what a lot of that comes down to is your dog is doing what he finds valuable. And if what he finds valuable is out in the environment, then of course he's not going to walk on a leash or ignore distractions, because those are the things that he finds valuable. But if you've done a lot of training and you've built value for you, then it's really easy to ignore distractions because you're the most valuable thing in the room. And that's why when we're training dogs, there's a lot of layers to this, but we really focus on where is the value, because if if my dog is constantly searching the environment and trying to pull towards distractions, and I know I need to build more value for paying attention to me, right? So that means that this is something that we go really in depth with inside our Advanced Beginnings course, which is open for enrollment right now. And actually, I don't know if I told you this yet, I made the course bigger. So it was supposed to be a 4-week course, and if you follow us, then you know I change my mind a lot. I do this a lot. And generally, I make things better when I change my mind.
And generally, Jess is one of the last to know.
That's not always true. But I change my mind a lot. And so I had this whole 4-week lesson plan done. And the course was loaded and everything was ready to go. And I was looking at it again last night and I thought, you know, we really need it to be a little bit longer. So now it's 6 weeks, which makes it 30 video lessons. And this problem solving and walking on a leash, this is something we're going to go into really in depth in that course. But I want to talk about it a little bit now anyway. So like I said, if you don't start training, let's talk about walking on a leash, because that's one of the things that I think bugs me the most about the whole, oh, you shouldn't be training your puppy until he's X amount old. Because if you spend 6 months letting your puppy walk nicely or pull you around on a leash and then you expect him to heel, I mean, that's when you come to us and we spend 6 months trying to teach your dog to walk nicely on a leash. Whereas if we had just started it from day one, it would have been a lot easier. So it's about value, right? So if your dog is pulling on the leash, then it is likely because the value is out there instead of in a heel position. And if you think about the training that you do, right, 90% of the time, your dog is in front of you. So if I'm teaching my dog to sit or to retrieve or to lay down, my dog is going to be in front of me because that's where it's the easiest for me to stand and click and treat and hand him things. But that means that the value my dog has is actually out in front of me. And I can see some of you asking questions, and I'm going to check my computer, which you guys can't see periodically. So we will get to the questions, I promise. So if the value is out in front of me, then that's where my dog wants to be. So we actually want to switch the value and put the value in heel position. So we're going to show you one of our first games that we do to teach a puppy to walk nicely on a leash. So this is Drake, and he does walk nicely on a leash, but I don't know when the last time he did this was. Do you know this actual game?
When we recorded it, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know when the last time Drake actually did this game. But that's okay. So that was just his daughter. Come here, buddy. Okay, so I'm going to move the camera around a little bit so that we can do this training demonstration and show you guys this game, which is one of my favorites for getting started walking on a leash. Come here, come here, come here. Okay, so if I had a whole team of tech guys, I wouldn't have to do this all by myself, but I don't. So do it by myself, and that's okay. Come here, Drake. Drake went to explore the new house. Come here, bud. Go ahead. Okay, so this is a game that we really recommend doing with your dog's meals, and I'm too tall for you to see me and Drake in the frame, so sorry. This is something we really recommend doing for your dog's meals because you're going to go through a lot of treats doing this game. So if you're having trouble getting your puppy to walk nicely on a leash and you spend every single breakfast and every single dinner doing this game, it's going to change how well your dog walks on a leash really, really quickly. Maybe you can do it because then I can keep talking. And Jess is a little shorter than me too, so she might fit in the frame better. Reinforcement zone.
And I need him. How are you going to do this?
Right there. That's good.
Can you see him? On my left side there?
Yes. We can see him. Okay. So we're talking about value building, right? So for every treat that Drake gets for standing or sitting in a heel position, we're going to be building value. I guess I can move back to my seat then. Okay, so for every treat he gets in heel position, we're building value for standing in that position instead of out front and instead of pulling. So this is how we do this with our very first, you can see he's really struggling with this because he hasn't done this game in a while, which apparently means we need to do more of it. So what Jess has done is put him in a relative heel position, and he's just getting treats, one right after the next, for standing in heel. And the camera flips things. He is on her left. But if you want your puppy to walk on the right, then that's totally fine. It's completely up to you. But he is on her left, because I think the camera flipped it. But anyway, so all she's doing is just literally handing him one treat after the next for staying in a heel position. That's it. One treat, followed by another treat, followed by another treat, followed by another treat. And so we're just building value for this behavior. We're showing him how great it is to stand in that position. And so now let's test it. Let's see how much value he has for that position. So she's going to take one step forward, and we're going to see what Drake chooses to do. And we're all about giving the dogs choices, because we can't actually control the decision that they make. All we can control is the environment that they're likely to make the decision that we want. And if your dog struggles with this, we highly recommend doing this with a wall, like with the puppy between you and a wall, because it will take half the options away, and you'll get that nice straight sit, that nice straight heel. And then you can take a couple of steps forward, give a dozen treats, take another step forward, give another dozen treats. You have to come back to your starting spot now because you're on the picture. So she'll come and start over. And so if you think about it, if you do a normal training session with your puppy, and like let's say you're teaching a sit or something, you might do 50 treats for sitting, right? Except that your puppy is out in front of you. So that means that you did 50 treats for being out in front instead of being in heel position. So what this game does is it undoes that, and it says, okay, now we're gonna give you hundreds of treats for standing in a heel position, and then eventually sitting in a heel position, and then eventually moving in a heel position. And so we have layers of games and exercises that we do to teach a dog to heel. I think like in my original plan for this online course, I think I had 4 of them, but I think we're going to be at like 6 or 8 now, of games and exercises designed specifically to teach your dog how to walk on a leash. And so this is just one of them, but this is maybe one of the most important ones. And we do this in public as well. So the moment that we start taking our puppies out to socialize or to do public access training, we will do this in public. We'll do this going down an aisle, or we'll do this like in the parking lot. We'll go left around the car and we'll play the reinforcement zone game. Cool, okay, you can come sit back down. We won't make Drake sick. I forgot his dog food, so he is getting treats. But that's why I said I recommend using dog food for this. So if you do this for your dog's meals, okay, start in your living room where it's nice and easy and there aren't any distractions. Then move to your backyard, and then your front yard, and then then you start going for a walk and everything like that. You want to make things easy, move in little chunks. Okay, so I know we had at least one question pop up, and I'm going to try and find it.
Casey had a question, and then there was another question after that.
Yes, and so I remember, actually, I think I saw Casey's question, so.
Reload. There we go.
About our criteria for a puppy, and yeah, expectations for loose leash walking, to keep a loose leash or to be in heel. So what we're expecting from the puppy is actually going to change based on where we are and how old the puppy is. So if we're just in our training facility and we're doing something like this game, we're not going to reinforce for anything less than a perfect heel. But then yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday when we went out into public, as long as our puppies were within, like 2 feet of you, and I have it all on film, as long as the puppy was within 2 feet of Jess, she clicked and treated. Because we were in Tyson's for the first time, and there were people, and there were carts, and there were distractions. So she lowered her criteria while we were in public, even though today when she did a training session in our facility, she required a perfect heel out of those same puppies. And so then now the next time we go to Tyson's, maybe we'll expect our puppies to be within 1.5 feet. And then the next time we'll say, okay, now I want you in a perfect heel, because a foot, about 12 inches, is what we call heel, which sounds like a lot until you're actually standing in front of your dog. So we slowly tightened up our walking criteria. And it depends pretty heavily on where we are and the experience level of the puppy. But what I will always tell you too is train the puppy that is in front of you. Okay, not the puppy you had yesterday, not the puppy you had this morning, and not the puppy you had 5 minutes ago. Train the puppy that is in front of you right now, because it's never the same puppy. Okay, you can have a puppy that's brilliant, and then 3 minutes later they're going, I don't know how to walk on a leash. You've never put me on a leash before. I don't know how to do this. And you have to just go, okay, I guess we're starting over. And that's just kind of normal puppy training. They do that until they're like
4 or 6 months.
Sometimes even older, until they're like a year old sometimes. As they grow up, they kind of go through these little stages. And so you have to train the puppy that's in front of you. If the puppy in front of you now is struggling, even if he wasn't struggling yesterday, then you need to work on what you have now. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that I see that separates a professional trainer from a new owner trainer, is that it's very frustrating to be working with a young dog who was brilliant 2 hours ago and now is struggling. And so you just have to accept that, and you have to train the dog that's in front of you. And if you try not to get frustrated and you train the dog that is in front of you right now, you're gonna get further faster, basically. Okay, so let me just see if we had any other questions on walking. Okay, so what would you do if they want to go further or start pulling or get excited to correct the behavior? So again, it would depend on the situation. Generally, this is why I think that you need to start training a puppy to walk on a leash from day one, because when they're very little, they can't pull you around because they're like 8 pounds. And so what we do is, seriously, the moment the leash goes tight, the puppy doesn't get to move. You just stop moving and you stand there as long as it takes for the puppy to look back at you and loosen up the leash a little bit on their own. And you just stand there and you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait. If I was doing the game we just showed you, I would just lure the puppy back into position. But if we were actually walking around on a leash, every single time the puppy makes the leash go tight, you just stop moving. Now, the exception is if you're in public and the puppy starts to bark. Okay, because if you're, of course, like in public or something, then you need to make that behavior stop. But if we're so close to a distraction that my puppy is failing so badly that he's barking and lunging and pulling, you're way too close to the distraction and you need to start further back. So that's another thing we see a lot is new owner trainers, they try to bring their puppies right up to the distraction really quickly, and that's gonna mess you up really fast. Start far away and slowly move closer. And I'm really sorry about the light behind me. It keeps, depending on what it's focusing on, it changes the whole camera. I know I'm trying to block it. Oh well. Okay, so we're gonna move on from walking, and that is something that, these are our tips for starting with a puppy. Play this reinforcement zone game we just showed you, and if the puppy pulls, do not move forward. Stop moving completely. But we go a lot more in depth in the course for this, which the link is in the description if anybody wants to check it out. Okay, so like we said, puppies are always learning. Okay, whether you're teaching or not. And this is why we recommend that you train right from the beginning, because your puppy is always learning, and at this age is the best time that you have to change your puppy's personality, to enhance your puppy's personality and create the personality that you want. So, okay, we've got the 4 puppies in our program now, right? So when we evaluated them, who did the best?
Percy.
Yeah. Percy did the best. He was confident, he was social, he was perfect. On paper, he was perfect. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we had Finn, right? Who we took into our program because he tested really well on like 2 things.
The brain games.
Yeah, he tested best on like the thinking games. And he was nervous, he was timid, but he was very people-oriented and he really wanted to learn. And then when we took them into public yesterday, what happened?
Percy was nervous. Not alarmingly nervous, but a little tentative at things that, every week he goes out into public and he's normally gung-ho perfect, and he was tentative, he was a little leery of the electric doors, he was leery of the shopping carts and the cars moving in the parking lot. And then Finn, on the other side, walked perfectly, wasn't afraid of the doors, didn't notice distractions. I was his main focus, and he shocked me.
Mm-hmm. He was perfect. Finn was perfect. If that had been his evaluation test, he would have scored 100% on every single piece.
Yep.
So the reason that happened, so 2 reasons. First of all, Percy might be going through a fear period, which is normal. So do not panic if your confident puppy, you go out into public one day and all of a sudden he's nervous about things. Do not panic. Train the puppy that's in front of you, okay? And help the puppy that's in front of you today. But the reason that Finn did so well is not because he was having a good day, but because we have systematically worked on boosting his confidence since the day he came into the program. Because you can change that. You can actually enhance your puppy's personality to make them more trainable, to make them more confident, to make them more people-oriented. You can change all that stuff. And so you want to work on that while they're young, because you can still change it as an adult dog, absolutely. It just takes longer and it's a little bit harder. And puppies are actually, it's like, what is it, like 12 weeks or 16 weeks that their kind of like socialization window starts to close. Mm-hmm. And it's not a window that just closes and you're done, but during that window, that socialization period, their brains are really primed to develop their personalities and to develop what's normal and to soak up everything around them. So you want to take advantage of that because you can actually enhance your puppy's personality, and the best way to do that is through training. So that's why when we're training puppies, we really focus on this concept called advanced beginnings, right? That I learned from Service Dogs Inc. in Texas, which is a phenomenal organization. Their trainers are phenomenal. And they train mobility and hearing dogs. They use only rescue dogs, and they use 100% positive reinforcement. They use all clicker training. None of their dogs will ever wear a prong collar. None of their dogs will ever receive a correction for a negative behavior. And so I learned about this concept when I was at a 5-day seminar with them. And it's basically this idea that by enhancing or by really capitalizing on early training sessions with our puppies, we can enhance their personalities, and we can create what we would call an advanced learner, which is a learner that they're like the rock stars of the dog world, right? They're the ones that make training look smooth and easy and like it's just magic. Because they problem solve well, they understand the training system, they know when you've increased criteria, they know how to add a cue to a behavior, they know how to create behaviors, they just know everything. And that's what we really focus on with our puppies, is this concept of advanced beginnings, where we're going to look at every training session, not so much as, okay, I'm teaching a sit or I'm teaching a down, but as in I'm making an investment in this puppy's future learning ability. And so while I may sit down and say, okay, today we're teaching a sit stay, it's not really about the sit stay. Not in this first, 30 days of training. It's about, can my puppy learn that I've increased criteria? Can he learn how to sit still? Can he learn how to add a cue to a behavior? So it's really important that in these early training sessions, you're not so much focused on what you teach, you're focused on how you teach it, and that you're teaching it in a way that will help later on down the road. So the example I always use is if I'm in a new town and I need to go to the grocery store, the fastest and the easiest way to get there is going to be to follow somebody in their car, right? Is to just get in my car and follow you to the grocery store. Except that I am going to be so focused on following that car that I am not going to notice anything around me. So I am going to be lucky if I can get back to the hotel by myself, let alone get to the grocery store again or get anywhere else. But if I, on the other hand, pulled out a map and highlighted the route and watched every single street sign and drove really slow and annoyed everybody around me, it would take me, 3 times as long to get to the grocery store, but I would be much better prepared to navigate the city the next time on my own. And that's how you need to approach your puppy's early training. It's not about the destination, it's about the process, because the process is what is going to help you over the long haul of the next 18 months of training. So if your puppy doesn't understand your training system, and he doesn't know how to offer a behavior, and he doesn't know when you've increased criteria, and he doesn't know how to add a cue, and if he doesn't know all that stuff, when you go to teach an advanced task, you're going to really struggle. You're going to really struggle. So when you do this, we like to train in layers. Okay, take your training and pull it apart. So if I go, okay, my puppy needs to, give me an example. What does he need to do in public? What's something that they need to do in public?
No, they need to heel. They need to be quiet. They need to alert. They need to keep their nose off the ground.
Yeah, okay. So they need to heel, right? And they need, so let's just go with healing. They need to heal past distractions. So I am not going to go into a training session with a young dog and go, okay, today we're going to teach healing past distractions. Because first I go, okay, does my dog know how to ignore distractions? And does he know how to heal? Because if he doesn't know those two things, we can't put them together. And then we go, okay, he doesn't know how to heal. So what does he need to know in order to learn how to heal? Well, he needs to know what the clicker is. He needs to know how to offer behaviors. He needs to know that he can make me click. He needs to know that he should, after the click, he should turn around and take a treat from me. And healing is not the best behavior to teach all those things. It isn't. So I'm actually going to go, okay, my puppy doesn't know any of those things. So today I'm going to capture a sit. Because capturing a sit will teach him all those things. It will teach him to offer behavior. It will teach him that he can make me click. It will teach him to come back to me when he hears the click to get his treat. So we're going to capture a sit before we bother healing past a distraction, okay? And so that's the kind of layered learning. I mean, you really want to take everything and you want to, sorry, I got distracted by a comment. You want to take everything and pull it apart, okay? So layered learning like that, that's really what we do in the advanced beginnings courses. We're going to give you 6 weeks now, 6 weeks of exactly how we've pulled apart our program and put it into these little step-by-step chunks so that every week things get harder, but they never really feel like they did. And then 6 weeks later, all of a sudden you have a puppy who's healing around Tyson's, but it never felt like it got harder. And that's how good training should go. So we're going to do another demonstration because I think we just got a question about... so how would you teach a bomb-proof ignore? So this is what we're going to talk about next. And Casey, I know I saw that you signed up for the Advanced Beginnings program, and we do talk about this in there, is getting puppies to ignore distractions right from the beginning. So you are going to get this information in there. And what this is, so this is just an orientation game, and you can start with just the really level 1, and then we'll add distractions if he's being good, which he will be because he's a rock star. So the orientation game, what we're going to do is we're going to teach him to offer eye contact. And by teach, I mean we're going to practice because Drake already knows this. So this is one of the first things that our puppies learn is this orientation game. So basically all it is Jess is going to click for eye contact and then drop the treat on the ground. Click for eye contact, drop the treat on the ground. And that's it. And there is no word for this behavior, and there never will be. Now, we do teach a leave it. It is one of my least favorite words. I hate leave it, I hate watch, I hate look at me, I hate all that stuff because what it does on accident is teach your dog to ignore you if you don't use it right. So while we do teach all those things, that is not actually how we teach our dogs to ignore things. We do it like this. So here Drake is learning on his own that offering Jess eye contact is going to get him what he wants. So we're back to that value building thing. He's building value for paying attention to his handler. So this is after we charge the clicker, we teach the puppies what the clicker means. This is the very first thing that they learn, is the orientation game. And then we can take this orientation game and we can do this in the parking lot at Tyson's. And if Drake can't play the orientation game in the parking lot, we're not going in the store. So this is our very first orientation game, so go ahead and sit on his leash. And then what we do when the dogs are doing really well is, let's see if I can... Okay, so here's the bag of pepperoni, right? I'm going to set it I don't think you're going to be able to see it. Okay. But it is just off camera, okay? I promise you. See, there's a giant bag of pepperoni, and it's right on the floor, and I promise you I left it there. So what she's going to do now is click for eye contact and toss her treat towards the bag. And now Drake's going, oh, but there's pepperoni right there. And we're just going to wait. So there was no leave it, there was no look, there was just... You can't reach that, and when you finally think on your own to turn around and look at me, then you'll get reinforced. And by the way, Jess has pepperoni in her hand. We would never put a hot dog on the floor and then give the dog a piece of kibble because that wouldn't be fair. Not in early training, not with a puppy. With a puppy, you have to have at least something that's as good as what's on the ground in your hand, if not better. So when we start this with a puppy, you might even use pepperoni in your hand and dog food on the ground or something like that.
Sorry, babe.
She just threw it off the stairs. So what this does is this starts to teach them to ignore distractions and offer eye contact. So in public, whenever something starts to distract one of our puppies, this is what we do. We default back to this game. And if they can't do this game, we move further away from the distraction, and we move further away until they're doing so well that we can move closer again. And this is how we get puppies to ignore things. Like I said, we do teach a leave it. This isn't even a part of how we teach a leave it. We don't actually teach a watch, do we? We don't teach a look or a watch. But what I want to
with this game, they're always watching
right,
us.
because they know to look back at you.
Can we be done?
We can be done. And so why I hate the word leave it is because I see this happen all the time. Is you're walking down the street or something and you go leave it and the dog doesn't leave it. And you go leave it and the dog doesn't leave it. And you say leave it one more time and the dog finally leaves it and turns around and looks at you, and then you click and treat. Well, now what you have is a behavior chain, which is lunge towards the distraction, turn around and get my treat. And just see if I can move and make the exposure better. There we go. Okay, so we do teach a leave it. It is not an early part of our program. It is not something we use in public very often. It's something we use when we need it, but it isn't something we use very often. I would much rather teach the dog to ignore distractions as what I call a default behavior, where the environment is the cue. So somebody walks past and that is the cue to ignore it, instead of having to say leave it.
A lot of our dogs are now at that point where they see a distraction and automatically look. As, a cue, what do you want me to do? And with the puppies, they're getting rewarded for that. The minute they look at me versus a distraction, they get a paycheck, basically.
And so one of the things that we are including in the course is the video journals. So we've been videoing everything because it was actually when that, I won't name the organization, but some of you will know if you're in the diabetic alert dog world. A big story broke about basically a scam, people paying lots of money for a service dog who's aggressive or not alerting or doing something like that. And that was when we decided to formalize our program. And because after that happened, I started seeing more and more people trying to owner train their dogs, and more people failing at it because it's hard. It's totally doable. You can do it, but it is hard. And so we decided to formalize our program, and we decided to make it very transparent. So we have been filming everything. We have except for just deleted a bunch of files. On accident.
I'm sorry. New phone, and we're trying to learn how to transfer stuff from PC to Mac because somebody just has to have a Mac.
Well, I won't go back now. So anyway, one of the things that we have included in this course is our puppy video journals, because we want people to see how we do it. So for example, each of our puppies spent 10 minutes in Tyson's yesterday. I have all of it on video, and we are going to show that to you inside the course. So inside the course, you're going to have that's 40 minutes of training footage from yesterday with my notes or Jess's notes included. So we're going to tell you what the puppy did well, what the puppy didn't do well, what the trainer did well, what the trainer could have done better. We're going to tell you how we think things went and what we're planning on doing next time, as well as why we made the decisions we made on the fly. So we're going to explain all of that stuff, because there is no reason that people can't do this on their own, but you need to know what you're doing, and you need to be able to see it. And so we just got really frustrated with the fact that there wasn't anywhere to see this stuff. So there are lots of really spectacular service dog organizations, but their focus is training service dogs, and so they aren't sharing their information because that's not what their focus is. Their focus is training the dogs and placing those dogs, and so we wanted to change that. So you're going to get a bunch of these video journals inside the course, which I love. We talked about selling it separately and decided to, for now, put it inside the course.
The blooper reel's still be separate, though.
The blooper reel, that one's expensive. No, just kidding. Because I'm not actually editing the bloopers out now. Because we want you guys to see that. We want you to see, when we went to Tyson's yesterday and the puppy ate a piece of popcorn off the floor. As a service dog, he's not allowed to do that. But it happened, and so then we have to handle it. So be intentional, as we went off on a tangent again, but be intentional with your training. Okay, so I saw we had some more questions pop up, so I'm going to answer those. There is a delay between when you guys put something in the chat and when we see it, so if you have any questions, put them in there now, because we're going to just make sure we hit everything. And then I think that will be it. So let me see, how do I make it show me all the...
Refresh?
Just refresh it.
Yes.
But see, why won't it show me all of them? Oh, I know why. Hold on. I got it. This will show me. And Pam, yes, I'm also CTP. So we're pretty determined to get some of this stuff out into the hands of the general public. And I'm really sorry about the exposure. We're getting shiny, but that's okay. Okay, so let's see if we had any other questions that I didn't hit. As a part of the course, okay, yes, we would. So Chris wants to know if we will provide feedback on your own recordings. So yes, what we have is a Facebook group, a private Facebook group for our paid programs for people who buy a course from us. And when you're in there, you can post anything that you want, and we will absolutely give you feedback. Now, I recommend keeping your videos to about 3 minutes because human attention spans are not very long.
And they're hard to load.
Yeah, they're hard to load with our bad internet. So we recommend keeping the videos to about 3 minutes, but we will look at as many of them as we can. And then you'll have your peers' feedback as well. So you'll get feedback from us, and you can get feedback from each other. So we definitely do that, and that is one of the reasons that we, what was I saying?
Feedback.
Oh yeah, that's, sorry, I'm trying to read and talk and I can't do that. That's one of the reasons we have the course, is so that we can give you guys feedback, or Facebook group, so that we can give you feedback if you post videos, because I think that can be really helpful. And so let's see. A couple of the other questions that I know we have been getting about the course itself. I don't want to take too much, unless you guys who are watching have questions about the course. I don't want to suck up a bunch of time on here about that because we wanted to talk about the training. But I know some of the questions we've been getting include like, people who have asked me, well, I don't have a puppy yet, but I'm getting a puppy in a few months, and will you be reopening the course? We will be reopening the course. I don't know when. But you have access to this course for a year. So it is now designed to get through in 6 weeks. But you will have access to it and the Facebook group for a whole year. So if you get a puppy 2 months from now, and then you start the course, you're good. So just know that, because I know somebody said in here, I saw somebody say that they have a puppy coming in a little while, so I wanted to hit that particular questions.
And sometimes, depending on how you learn and how things work for you, so with me, I'm a planner. I have to have a plan. If I'm not as good, working on my feet, so buying the course and then having a couple of weeks to a month to just kind of see how everything plays out helps someone like me have it mapped out in my mind so that I know exactly what I'm doing the first day my puppy comes, and I can follow this through with a little more, not proficiency, but fluidity, I guess, maybe the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, like I know I had somebody email me and ask, because she had a puppy coming in a couple of months, but she has a pet dog at home she's been practicing on. That's like perfect, because then you can practice all of this stuff on your pet. Then you can be your guinea pig, and then when your service dog puppy comes home, you can you've already done it once, and now you can do it again. So I didn't see any other questions pop up, so I'm just gonna check and make sure.
Casey had another question. Absences.
Oh, how do you teach the puppy to be alone? Okay. That's kind of a longer explanation than what. Do you have an answer? It's about short exposure. It's about good things.
Tired brain.
Yeah.
Short exposure. Tired body. And then something to do.
So, I mean, like when we start leaving a puppy alone, first I'm going to exercise him so he's really tired. And then I'm going to put him in his crate, like with something special to chew on, and close the door and maybe leave for like 20 minutes, maybe Because yeah, some puppies really struggle with being alone. Now, if your puppy is panicking, if your puppy is, especially if your puppy has been home for more than a couple of weeks and they're really having anxiety when they're alone, my favorite resource is Patricia McConnell has a booklet on it. It's not very long. It's like a nice little book on separation anxiety. And even if your dog isn't to the point where you would call it like official separation anxiety, it's a fantastic book. And I can't think of what it's called, but if you Google Patricia McConnell separation anxiety, it will come up. And that's a good one if your puppy's if you think that what you're seeing is abnormal, because it is normal for puppies to be worried about being left alone in the beginning. So we just like to use short times. They're alone for short times. And this is actually one thing that it bugged me a little bit. I saw this come up on a Facebook group about separation anxiety, and somebody said that trainers just don't understand because your service dog needs to be with you all the time because he needs to take care of you. And that's why he's anxious when he's left alone. And while I understand some of that logic, or some of that, why that sounds like it makes sense, your service dog is never going to be able to be with you 100% of the time. There are going to be times when you have to be able to leave your service dog at home, and he has to be comfortable with that. It's completely unfair to justify separation anxiety because he's a service dog and he thinks that he needs to be with you at all times, because all you're doing is setting your dog up to be miserable and panicky when you do have to leave him home alone. So that is definitely something that you do want to practice. If you think your dog has separation anxiety, you're going to want to read that book or check in with a positive reinforcement trainer in your area. We do have information on this inside the course as well, because we do have the puppy vault in there that has everything from chewing and play biting to being left alone to jumping and everything like that. But it's about short, so everything with puppies is about short amounts of time and good experiences. That's always what it's about with puppies. So that's what we recommend for that, as kind of the shorter answer. And then I will just double check one more time. I think they're not coming through in the correct order. Okay, so I think that is all that I had today. Ask questions inside our Facebook group. We love to answer them there. And because we have a free Facebook group for people who are not members of our courses, and then we have the paid Facebook group for people who are, and we run them a little bit differently. And then I did put the link to the course in the description here so that you can look at that. It's new and improved. So even if you saw the sales page before, even if you saw the information in the video before, the course is different now because there's more. So it's not actually the same course now, it's a better course. And that's just what happens when you work with me, is I change things a lot. But all right, well, that is it then, and we will see you guys later. Remember, if you share this video within the next 24 hours, so 6:30 p.m. Central Time Saturday, we'll put you in the drawing for the puppy package, because we will ship those out, and that will be super fun, and they will have answers to a lot of your general puppy raising questions as well. So
we got one last question.
Oh, one more. Okay.
Caitlin O'Keefe.
Puppy paws that slip when asking to sit or go into a down. Start on carpet. Even if it just means you have to get like a little rug and teach it on a rug. Because that is something that, in my experience, gets better as your dog gets older. But if you teach a sit and a down on a slippery surface, you're first of all going to have a sloppy sit, which if you're a training geek like me, will drive you nuts. And you also don't want the puppy to be uncomfortable when you're teaching those things, because if the puppy is nervous, then he's never going to do the thing right. So start on carpet and then slowly move to more slippery surfaces as he gets used to the behaviors and he knows what you're asking for and he's built some confidence. So even if you just have to buy like a little rug, that's what I would do, is I would start on carpet. And then if it ends up being like a permanent problem, they actually make anti-slip spray that you can put on your puppy's feet.
Or you can buy a wax.
Do they do that too?
Yeah.
But that might leave paw prints. Wouldn't it leave paw prints on your floor? I don't know. They make anti-slip spray and waxes. If it's it's going to be a more permanent problem.
Lesser of two evils.
But teaching it is going to be something you'll just want to do on carpet or grass or something that doesn't slip. So
watch your timing.
Yeah.
On that type of a thing.
Cool. All right. Well, we will let you guys know who won the raffle tomorrow night. I will announce that. And we will see you guys later.
All right, thank you.